And we're live. Good to see you today. Thank you for joining me for Sanctuary Live. And folks, I appreciate being able to spend this time with you. By the way, if you're just joining me, would you just go on for a second and type out where you're from? I always like to know where people are watching from, and I'd always like to know who's watching. So just take a minute and do that if you would. And we got a great show today. Jonas will be joining me in a few minutes. Jonas from Kenya. And we got a lot of stuff to talk about the project, well, Jonas has been with Sanctuary for a long time, and love to hear some of the things that are going on there and some of his recollections from the past as well. Reflections, excuse me. Lary Dean is here with us, and Jim LAVERDE will be joining us too. Lary Dean from TRYTAN. Some of you know TRYTAN from yesteryear and a few other bands. He's been busy since then. So we've got Jim, who has just spent a little time there, Jim LAVERDE, and Jim's going to be playing with TRYTAN, actually, at Immortal Fest. So we want to hear all about it. We want to hear what they've been doing, and that'll be kind of cool. So Jonas says good morning, checking in from Kenya, and he will be live with us in just a few minutes. So love to have him here. So folks, join me today by signing in wherever you're from. Just let me know. And AV is here. Good morning to you, our good friend. Matt, good morning to you. Matt is part of our fellowship here in Tennessee. Good to see you from Brentwood, Tennessee. Emma, my good friend from Montana, 43 degrees. Wow. And it's going to be 90-something here. That's quite a stretch, isn't it? I think I'd rather have 43 personally. I really would. Morton is here from Denmark, from Sanctuary there. Good to see you, Morton. And Morton's involved with that project as well. Chris is here. It's Topher from St. Louis, our good friend Topher. Good to see you, Topher. Great. Been a good friend of this ministry for a lot of years. And good to have you here. Folks, if you're joining me, let me know where you're from. And Fred says blessings from Toronto to the Sanctuary family. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it, and it won't. That's the cool part, isn't it? Good to have you here, Fred. Norberto is here from El Paso, Texas. And gosh, we've got people from all over the United States, but all over the world here. Let me know where you're from, where you're watching from today. So great show ahead. And our illustrious, industrious producer, John. Are you there, John? Want to get you on screen? Say hello to you this morning. You're doing well, dude?
Doing good. How are you this morning?
Great, thanks.
Excellent.
Great show ahead. You ready for this?
Absolutely. I've been a TRYTAN fan for quite some time. I go all the way back to 1987.
All right.
I remember Celestial Messenger. I remember Silent Tiger. I had a chance to actually do distribution. I had some background in the music industry, and we got to work with F8 and did the Live from Cornerstone. And so I'm thrilled and privileged to be able to call Larry a great father figure and spiritual mentor and friend.
That's awesome.
Very invested in today's podcast.
That's awesome. Very good. Well, yeah, and history goes a long ways back, and that's like 37 years ago. So,
right.
Well, yeah.
And you know what? For an artist, having history does not disqualify you from God using you today. We deal with so many bands that have come through the Sanctuary ministry, and sometimes it can look like a nostalgia show. And I want to encourage everybody that's listening. God is the God of yesterday, today, and forever. And just because you were strong in a particular season doesn't mean that you're disqualified from God using you and your abilities today.
In fact, I think I would go a step further, John, and I would say that if you're called by God, you're still called.
100%.
Yeah, it didn't quit. So Rob just told us that it's his birthday. Happy birthday, Rob. And Terry, the singer for the project in Kenya, just said hello from Kenya. Great singer. And have you had a chance to see the video yet?
I have. As a matter of fact, I saw it when it debuted, and very, very nicely done. People look at, the surroundings and the environment of where it was recorded. And granted, it wasn't the luxurious, lush studios that a lot of artists are accustomed to.
Yes.
Sometimes they do it in their closet, in their bedroom, but yet the quality of artistry and musicianship that comes from that is amazing. And
It is amazing.
and that project is one of those things, and I'm excited to see what
Well,
God
the song is up. Yeah, the first song is up on YouTube, and folks, if you haven't seen it yet, I'm sure we'll have a link to that soon here. But well, John, we've got a great show today. Any fine tuning we need to do at the beginning?
Well, in a little bit. And first of all, I have to apologize for my background. There's a bit of a testimony that's going on here.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to be relocating from Kentucky to the Sanctuary headquarters. I'm actually going to be coming back to Nashville for the first time in 16 years.
Yes, it's time, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going to be incredible to be there. One thing I do want to share with our viewers and our listeners, first of all, we thank you guys for joining us at this hour in the morning. Some of you guys can still afford to be in bed, and some of you still want to be in bed. And so we're thankful that you're taking this opportunity to join us. I want to encourage you guys with a couple things. The main thing, typically our crowd is between 30 and 50 people. We got about 7,000, almost 8,000 likes on our social media. I want to challenge everybody that's watching right now. I want you to share this link. Please share, please like, please follow. In the words of a great orator, Bugs Bunny, we need your help.
Yes, we do.
We appreciate you guys being a continuous support of Sanctuary and Sanctuary Live. So many great artists coming through that we have an opportunity to partner with in ministry, and
yes,
we want to spread the word out about that. So please like, share, follow. Did I mention like, share, and follow?
Yes, and especially on YouTube, because we are ramped down with our live show on YouTube. In fact, it doesn't even get out.
Yeah.
There's 0 watchers on YouTube for whatever reason. We can't seem to get anything, and they don't announce the show until usually the next day. So
yeah, so we're calling on the Army, and once I get there, we'll be able to shift. I work third shift weekends, so I'm not able to tend to the promotion and everything like I want to. That's going to change, but definitely a call to arms. You guys, we do this obviously, for the Lord and for the great artists that we represent. But any help that you can provide in helping spread the word about Sanctuary Live and platforms are much appreciated.
Well, John, thank you. Appreciate that update. And let's bring Jonas on.
Absolutely.
From Kenya, live from Kenya. There he is. Good to see you, Jonas.
Good to see you. How are you doing?
So, Jonas and I are good friends. We've been good friends for a whole lot of years. Jonas, you've been in Nashville a few times, haven't you? Visiting.
I have.
Yeah.
I've been visiting a couple of times. I mean, the first time was back, I can't even remember the year, but we went to play Cornerstone Festival.
Yes.
And we came down and stayed a couple of weeks with you in Nashville. I also went over, that's a completely different story, but my parents, they had a divorce and needed to, my dad moved to the US and moved over to the US, visited you to get some advice and figure out how to reconcile with my dad, and managed to go meet him afterwards in the US. I've been visiting you a couple of times, and it's always had a lot of impact, on my life.
Exactly. Well, thank you. And Jonas, you are you are in Kenya right now, and
Yeah.
you actually came out of sanctuary in Denmark.
Yep.
That's quite a move. Tell us how you got from Denmark to Kenya.
Okay, it's a long story. I'll try and make it short. Way back, when Christian metal music was very new in Denmark, there was a band, Barricades. That's actually where Morten and Andreas were both playing.
Yes.
And I was setting up a show for them. I was a teenager at that point. I was like 15 years old only. So I was looking up to these guys as my big heroes. And I set up this show for them at my primary school back in Vejle in Denmark. And suddenly, it started getting some traction. People actually said they wanted to come and didn't even know if there would be a market for something like this. And then I remember, and Andreas was telling me that you were coming, and I didn't know you at that time. I mean, I was too young and didn't even know what was going on internationally with Christian metal music. So I just heard it's a pastor coming, and so I was like saying, "Yeah, I can give you a free ticket, but I don't want you to preach or do anything. You can be there and watch, but that's fine." So I remember the first time I met you, I actually refused for you to speak or anything, and you were put in the corner. So you were standing in the corridor now talking to everybody. But what happened was after that show, and after people met you and got that whole idea of Sanctuary, and Andreas really got involved with Sanctuary, it actually spurred Sanctuary Denmark, and a lot of bands came out of that.
Yes.
A lot of great bands actually came out of that within a very short time, a few years only. So I remember you came back a year later for another show, and we had you there. Then Greenlight District Festival came about, and the Greenlight District Festival was one of the things Andreas was organizing. And he formed a team, and we started a core group there. So we were organizing that festival. And I remember when we were meeting, so he invited me to be part of that team. And I remember we were at his parents' house in Fjellerup, which is on the countryside in Jutland in Denmark. And it was the night before the festival was about to kick off, and we had a prayer session in the kitchen. And in the middle of that prayer session, you started prophesying that Sanctuary would set up in Africa. And it would not only be for the sake of heavy metal music, it would be for something else. But you just prophesied that there will be people from Sanctuary Denmark going to Africa. And we were all like, I remember after the session, we were all like, okay, what was that? I mean, we are here getting ready to set up this festival in Denmark for Christian metal in Denmark. That was where our focus was and our mission and vision was. So none of us really paid much attention to it. We just like, okay, fine. But yeah, fast forward a few years, that's where my parent got divorced. And my dad was, of course, part of a trip that my mom and my dad had booked to Kenya. Now he couldn't go because of the divorce. So there was a leftover ticket, basically, for a vacation to Kenya. So he gave that to me. So I got the ticket and went to Kenya. I had no plan of going here at all, but came here anyway. And here, the day before going home, back to Denmark, I met my wife, my current wife. She's Kenyan. We stayed in touch. A few years later, I found myself moving to Kenya. So I've been here since. That's about 10 years ago. I moved here. So yeah. So somehow that prophecy came true.
That's awesome. Now, three children later, you have three children. Yeah, beautiful children.
Yeah.
And beautiful wife, and you're doing well in Africa. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing how God sometimes moves things. I mean, I did not put any effort into moving to Kenya. It was not my intention. It was not my plan. It just kind of happened, And I remember that's where now that prophecy that you had back then suddenly started making sense. It was like, oh, wow, okay, I didn't even know that was for me. I had disregarded it. It was not until I found myself here. I was like, what? Wait a minute. You actually said that 3 years ago.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And I don't even remember saying that. So that's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, and this project that you guys are working on is more than exciting. You know, the first song is out on YouTube, and it
Yep.
is amazing. You
Thanks.
guys started writing, and everything just clicked, didn't it? You guys started
Yeah,
writing, and it came quickly.
yeah, it came very quickly. Like within, the first time we actually sat down and started playing together. I mean, at that time it was Terry and Morten and I meeting up here. I mean, we had never really sat down and played together before. Morten and I had played together, many years before in another band called Rosalind, but not played together for about 10 years. We never played with Terry, so it was kind of a new thing. So we
Yes.
would expect it would be kind of like a jamming session or whatever, but things just started flowing, and we got the material for 15 songs, and it was just amazing. We were blown away by how that came about. But even the whole way that band kind of came about and this project came about. I mean, none of us really planned or expected this to happen. I mean, I was here in Kenya for 10 years. and remember there's that prophecy that you had about sanctuaries starting in Kenya or in Africa. And I tried to start it and do something and connect with people, but there's just nobody here that were interested in that kind of music down here.
Yeah.
Because it's not a genre or a style they're used to. So it's still a very new genre in this part of the world. So it was just very strange. But then, I kind of gave up on it. I felt like I was in 10 years in a desert because there's nobody else around. And then all of a sudden, we just started feeling last year that God was calling us to do this. I started feeling it. I was calling my mom. I was calling Andreas in the US. I was calling everybody. It's like, I can feel there's something happening now in the spirit. And all of a sudden, Morten came, Terry came to Kenya. So Terry moved here, relocated here with his family from the US. And Morten came to visit, and we just decided, let's do this. And and we've just been blessed through that whole process. It's been amazing to see the speed, the progress, the things are happening at.
Yes.
So it's just one of those things again where we feel it's just God kind of guiding us. We don't really know the end goal or the full plan, but we just let us be guided by Him. Yeah.
So Sonic Grace is asking about Andreas. He said, basically, who is Andreas? We haven't seen him around for a while. Tell us how Andreas is.
Yeah, no, Andreas is still around. He's in the US. He's in Illinois, actually.
Yes.
With his family, with his wife Amanda and their son Axel. And
Yes.
Morten was actually just visiting him, actually part of our previous updates. So he was just visiting him to get Andreas on board in the band in this worship project. And they're doing good. They're doing well. And we are looking really forward to actually be able to try and practice and play all four of us together someday. But so far it's still online. It's digital. We send files back and forth.
And isn't it amazing, Jonas, that you can actually do an album from around the world?
It's crazy.
Sending
it's amazing. I never thought that would be possible. I mean, even before this idea came about, we were like, but I never thought about it. Then Morten came in and we practiced, and we were like, hey, so does Morten have to travel back and forth all the time, or how do we go about this? And we were just like, actually, with some of these modern technologies, we could actually do it individually. If we have our own writing sessions or studios set up in each location, we can do it together. So we've been blessed. I mean, Terry, for some strange reason, when he relocated from the US to Kenya, brought a whole container full of music equipment. So he has everything for a full studio down there in Kimana, which is next to Kilimanjaro, the mountain. I was blessed here, so I realized one of the kids, my kids, they have a small drum set, a digital one. I realized I can connect it and get the things up and running, so I can keep practicing recording from here. Morten has been blessed that right next to where he lives, you have Youth for Christ, and they have a studio, brand new studio built in their basement. So he has access to that. Andreas has his basement with the studio and all the equipment. So we realized we can actually just connect and play in each our location and share the files.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah,
That is awesome. Well, it's been a lot of years, and you started with Barricades promoting the band, and they were the very first Christian metal band in Denmark.
True.
And I remember meeting Andreas in, it must have been 2003, 2004, something like that. I met him at Bobfest in Sweden.
Yeah.
And he said he was from Denmark, and I said, what is the metal scene like in Denmark? And he goes, there isn't one. There wasn't one at that point. Barricades just getting started and are just about to get started. And he and I had that talk, let's do something. Let's get something going. And Andreas was really instrumental in kind of kicking off a lot of the movement there, wasn't he? And of course you were too.
Yeah, he definitely was. I mean, him and Morten were the two that kind of kickstarted the whole metal scene, Christian metal scene in Denmark. There was nothing before that.
Yes.
And so many bands and other things now came out of it and followed, which is amazing to see. And also Sanctuary Denmark came out of it, and so on. Greenlight District Festival, and a few of the bands are still active to a certain extent. But what we have seen for a while is kind of like the scene is also kind of slowing down. People are getting older, they get families, they get busy with work, with jobs.
Yes.
So, for instance, Morten, he kind of felt the same way, that he's in a desert because it was hard to find enough time for playing and finding people to play with and practice with. So it's amazing to see how all of a sudden then God connects us across continents again and say, all right, guys, if all of you, the three of you are willing, let's do something.
Yes.
And yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really awesome. I mean, we're super excited about it. Yeah.
So, and back in those days, you and Andreas had the longest dreads of everybody, didn't you? I remember.
I had actually. That's true.
Yeah,
that's true. I mean, my dreads were past my butt. Let's put it that way. And but with a bit of help of Andreas, because I had some of his dreads weaved into my dreads. So when he cut off his, they were extended in my hair.
The cool thing about dreads, you can keep them going, right? You can keep that around.
Actually, a funny note, he sent them by mail. So I got a physical letter with dreads inside. So we had a mailman delivering them. And he's like, what is this stuff?
That is awesome. That's great. Well, Andreas had to cut his dreads off because his wife was allergic to them.
Oh.
Yeah, that's a big deal. Yeah. So not that he wanted to cut them, it's just that he kind of had to. So
that was a big sacrifice. He really must love Amanda.
Now, you know you're in love when you cut off your dreads, huh?
Yes, that's true.
Yes. So Brian Perry says, what band are we talking about? It was a band called Barricades at the very beginning. And that was the one that started it all out. But the present project is called At the Mountain. And it's a worship project. It's heavy metal worship project. The songs are sounding fantastic. And like we said, Jonas, you guys started writing and you wrote like 15 songs. Now, it's something if somebody says, we wrote 2 songs this week. And you go, well, we wrote 15 songs. But
we wrote 15 songs in 4 days, 15 songs in 4 days.
Yes.
That when we were together. So now we are sitting polishing the songs, getting a good recordings, good takes and everything, all the different instruments and so on. And actually there's a second song out on the website now. So there's the YouTube video where there's one lyric video for the first song called Praise His Name, but there is another one called Doxology that is now up online, which is actually a hymn. So it's a very old hymn called Doxology, where we are working on a new take and a new interpretation of that one.
That's so great. Well, and the first one is out on YouTube. You can find it if you type in "At the Mountain,"
Yep.
and you'll find the song, and it'll give you a little taste of what's going on there. You know, there's a real need right now, Jonas, for us to lead with worship in this movement. And I have to tell you that you are one of a few that God is calling to do worship, which is awesome. We've got, of course, a great worship team here that's getting ready to do a bunch of new stuff, and we've definitely gone to an edge here as well. There's a project in the Netherlands that's currently ongoing that is awesome. We've got the metal band there in Switzerland, and again, starting to do some worship. And then we've got quite a few bands, even popular bands, that say, you know, we really feel called to begin to do worship. And one of the bands that we work with quite a bit that attend here is called Fear Not. And they actually did a worship tour just a few weeks ago. So, and then there are a whole lot of people that keep writing to me saying, you know, God's really putting heavy metal worship on my heart. Now, after all of these years in ministry, and 40 years next year that we started Sanctuary, it's been 40 years. This is the first time that I've had people tell me that God is leading them to do heavy metal worship. And now all of a sudden everybody is telling me that. And nobody's talking to each other. It's just something that God is moving with. You guys felt that as well, didn't you, as you put it together and as you started writing?
We felt it. I mean, we felt definitely had to be worship. Before we even met for, you know, to sit down and start practicing and writing stuff, we had this talk, and it was because I could feel something was moving in the spirit back in October last year, and started telling everybody, I could just feel something is about to happen. And Morten then wrote, remember back in January, said, hey, he really feels as well. It's been on his heart for many years that we need to do worship, you know, metal worship.
Yes.
But he couldn't find anybody who was willing to do it. It's like, is that what we're being called to do? And we spent a lot of time praying about it, and we prayed about it with Terry as well. And we're like, yeah, that is it. That is what God is telling us to do. It's not to be a new metal band and just make, you know, more metal records that, you know, are with Christian lyrics. It was to say, no, it's basically supposed to be worship, leading Christians in worship.
Yes.
With a metal sound, to get some of that masculinity back into the church and back into the music. I mean, a lot of the men are sitting at home; they don't want to go to church anymore. But their wives might go with the kids, but the men stay behind. And so we kind of felt like we need to get something where the men will also feel like, hey, this speaks to us. I mean, this is cool. This sounds good.
Yeah, and Jonas, that's a big deal, isn't it? To do worship that's a little more masculine. By the way, Phil Osborne is here.
Oh, Phil! Hey, Phil! I remember Phil from way back when we were visiting in the U.S.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Phil, as you know, is in Casting Crowns, and good to have him join us. So, one of the things about worship these days in a whole lot of churches is that it is very feminine. Worship is very feminine, and the guys don't relate so much to it because of its feminine nature. That's kind of what you're talking about, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. You nailed it. That's exactly what we felt. We felt God was calling us to make music or worship that men can relate to, and of course a lot of women and girls can also relate to it, because it also has something that they relate to and some feelings and emotions they relate to. But we kind of felt worship became like very narrow spectrum of sound and style, nowadays at least. So we wanted to kind of bring back a bit of the, you know, variety in the sound, to kind of attract some of those people who might have, you know, fallen away or no longer go to church or so on, because they didn't relate anymore. They couldn't relate with the way things were happening in church, with the sound in church and so on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and I have to tell you, it takes me back to Bob Fest in the early 2000s. we had Extol lead worship as a band.
That's awesome.
But it changed the dynamics of worship. And of course, their worship was a little heavier. It was a little more crunchy. And everybody got involved because of that. And I remember thinking, even way back then, this is really the feel that it needs to have. It needs to have more of a masculine feel to it. Because the heavy metal, Christian heavy metal, is still 80% men, 20% women. And so, it isn't that women don't connect with it; it's that guys need to connect with it. So we need to have something that does both. Absolutely. Raven's here originally from Norway. You know Raven.
I know him. Hey, good to see you here.
Yes, it is, and he's been in some really great bands. Frost Harder, and I just forgot the other band. Really hardcore band. You'll have to tell me. Raven, you'll have to tell me.
He will put it in. But but he's in the US now as well.
He is, yes. I married him and his wife here, and he's in the US and doing very well. He's a cool guy.
Oh yeah.
And
Barry is here.
Yes, Barry is here. We like him very, very much. He says worship is an intense and personal connection between you and God. So I love that part. So
that's very true.
Jonas, you guys are still recording, still working on fine tuning. What can we expect next from the band?
I mean, we'll have a few more songs coming up in the next couple of weeks. We're still working on it. I mean, this weekend, I was down in Kimana, next to the border of Tanzania, where Terry lives. So we've been working on more tracks and more songs as well. Morten is still working on more tracks and songs as well, and so is Andreas. So we just want to get them rolling so we can do some releases so people can listen to them. Also, so we can get feedback on the songs, like what works, what doesn't work. And the best way to do it is just release something, even though it's not 100% finished. We want to get it to like 90%, and then be able to get feedback before we then go into a professional studio and start doing the final recordings.
Yes.
So that's the process we're in now. So we just will keep on releasing material. And then there'll be something new for people to listen to, like every second week or so. There'll be new things coming up, and so that's kind of the plan and the flow we're going with. And then we hope it works.
I love that. Well, it is working, and the whole thing is sounding fantastic. I just remembered the band is Ancestor. Yeah.
Oh.
Was the singer for Ancestor long ago. Yeah. So anyway. Well, it's always so good to see you. And I think it's time for you and your family to come and visit me.
Oh, I would love to. It's been more than 10 years since, actually 11 years since I visited you last time.
Yes.
But every time I visit you, it's been kind of like a turning point in my life. Something has come up.
Well, yeah. Well,
so I would love to.
Yeah. Hopefully it's good. So, but anyway, and then I hope to see you in March when I'm in Denmark, when we do something there.
Oh, yeah. Yes, I would love to do that. Yes.
That'd be great.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Well, give your wife and your family a big hug from Pastor Bob, and a big hug to you as well, my friend. I love you a lot. It sure is good to see you. Always good to see you.
Likewise. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, Jonas, it's exciting days ahead, and folks, exciting days ahead for us on this show. We have coming up, I think next time we've got Flood coming up with us, the new Flood band. Have you heard them, Jonas?
Yes, I'm really looking forward to that one.
Yeah,
we've been actually waiting for this to happen for a long time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Gary Lanier, Guy Ritter, the guys will be here with us, and we're going to talk a little bit about Stop the Bleeding, their new tourniquet thing, and
Mhm.
Of course, Luke, who attends Sanctuary here, also is doing the vocals for that as well, as he
Nice.
tourniquet. So lots of good stuff coming up.
One
Jonas,
thing,
bless
yeah,
you, bless you, bless you. Good to
thank
see you,
you.
my friend. And up
Likewise.
next, we'll have Jim LAVERDE, and we'll have um, our good friend Lary Dean here, also from Triton, and we'll see what they're up to right after this. Hello, Metal family. So I'm excited for the next Immortal Fest. Such great bands, such great people. I hope you're going to be one of them. I'll be there hosting both events this summer. Really excited to spend time with the bands and to spend time with you. Sunday at the first event on the 28th of July will be the Sanctuary Day. We're going to have a service. We're going to have our worship team. We're going to have some special guests. We're going to have a good time. And I hope that you plan to come, and some surprises still to come too. So both events, first July 26th through 28th, and the other the first week of September. Great bands, great time together, family time. We are metal, we are family. I hope to see you there. And we're back. If you're just joining us, don't forget to sign in. Let us know where you're watching from. We always like to know where people are from to kind of give us an idea of our audience. And don't forget to like and share. And we're really trying to get this out. We're always fighting with algorithms and fighting to make sure that the show can be seen by people who would like to see it. Been a great show. We had Jonas on the first part, and Jonas from Kenya, loving what they're doing there with the new worship project. And speaking of that, Immortal Fest is coming up. We've got some great things planned for Immortal Fest. Jim LAVERDE is here with us, and Jim is going to kind of lead us into to worship at Immortal Fest with our worship team, and we will be at the first Immortal Fest. We're doing this Sunday morning service. All of you that are going to Immortal Fest, I hope you'll stay for it. I'll be hosting both events, and so I'm looking forward to seeing everyone there. If you haven't gotten your tickets yet, please do for both events. It would be great to be at both of them. Lots of great bands, lots of really cool stuff going on. Well, there's Jim LAVERDE. Uh-oh.
Hi, Pastor Bob.
There you go. Now we
Yeah.
got you sound.
Technology.
Yes.
We're slaves to it. You just have to hit the little red button and you're good. So, hi, Pastor Bob. How are you?
I'm good, dude. And so, Jim, you have been the last few days in Chicago.
I have.
With Larry. And
yes.
So, Jim, as you all know, is the bass player with Barren Cross. And he's also doing worship here at Sanctuary for Jim. We've been at this almost 40 years now.
Oh yeah, it's been a long good time.
Uh,
And oh, I'm so excited to hear from Jonas, and that was just such a great time with you guys, and
yes.
so neat to see what God's doing around the world. And
It
it's
is.
kind of, I don't want to take too much time with this, but God is in the business of making disciples and doing things that we are unexpectedly unaware of.
Yes.
And when you said that, that God is moving in worship in Africa, He's moving here, He's moving there. We didn't put that together, did we, Bob?
Yeah. Well, no. And I don't remember having that prophecy about sanctuary being in Africa, but I'm glad that
Yeah.
Jonas remembered. It continues to amaze me, all of the places that the sanctuary seems to go, and I'm loving that God moves that way, Jim.
I know, and I'm so excited about their project. I just think they're right on target and doing
Yes.
exactly what God wants them to do.
Yes.
And it's inspired us all, So
Yes.
no.
Andreas was just online there saying hello.
Hi, Andreas. I miss you, buddy. I'm sorry about your dreads.
Yeah.
Wow.
So Jim, you are sitting at our worship team spot there.
Yeah, let's just do a little tour of this. This is where we rehearse. This is where we have our services, and there's our drum set back there. And we are metal, we are family. If you can see that, our theme. I don't know. So, but yeah, that's where I'm at.
A little bit dark in there, but we can see it, and that's and our own worship team is sounding better than ever. They're
Yeah. Well, we have just, we've come a long way. God's brought the right people with us. Been working with Jamie McCavanagh, phenomenal guy, musician, songwriter, and I'm excited to see how God's going to be leading us down the road. So
yes.
So
I mentioned that we were fighting the algorithms. Chris Keene says fighting with algorithms sounds like a great band name. So
that does sound like
your next band, Jim. That'll be fighting with algorithms.
Algorithm.
That has a
yeah.
So Jim, the coolest thing is when God brings something together.
Yeah.
And like these four guys that are working on this project, we've really had that happen with our own worship. That God has brought specific people together that are amazingly talented. And then it's cool to see Sanctuary in the second and third generation even. Glenn Mancaruso, the drummer for Vengeance and the old worship team, and still the current one, he's playing as well.
Mm.
His son Joey is also playing, and Joey and his fiancee Crystal are part of the worship team, and it's kind of cool to see the next generation coming in and doing this too.
Yes, yes, it is. And excuse me, Bob. But God brought us some really good young players and worshipers, and I am just so excited about what God's doing in their own lives.
Yes.
And they came in the right way. They didn't come in as rock stars. They came in as servants. And, like Wes and Jen, they came in here. They just like, whatever we can do, wash dishes. They were serving. They were meeting with people. They were meeting needs. And that's just such an incredible heart. Isn't it, Bob? Yeah. So,
and what's unusual too? Jonas and I were just talking about that music needs to be a little more masculine.
Yeah.
That metal tends to be very feminine. And then God brought us two heavy metal female vocalists.
Yeah.
To lead the charge, and it's been awesome, hasn't it?
Yeah, it truly has been awesome. They have two of the greatest voices that I've heard in many, many years. And
powerful.
Crystal can sing like range. She did a Triumph set the other night, blew me away. And Jen just has an incredibly beautiful voice as well, and she can scream like that, scream all rah 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 stuff. And the first time, Bob, the first time she did it, I almost had to step back. I was like, what the heck? So it was truly amazing. So,
And the first time I heard Jen do a scream, a growl like that was, and
yeah, I know.
Jen looks like this mild-mannered, I mean, they're both very lovely women, and then they get on stage, and yeah,
I know. Like, so Jen is like one of the most unassuming people I've ever met.
yes,
You know, she's kind of quiet in the background. She's got a great sense of humor, and then all of a sudden, here comes that voice, and you're like, where did that come from? Hello, and but just got such a great spirit of humility and a true worshiper, and so I'm excited about what God's doing here, and you know, we got together and we were just goofing around musically here. There's me and Jamie and I think Wes and Jen, and we just started writing together, and it was just this magical anointed, you know, it's not magical, it's anointed, Bob, but
yes,
you know, music, the song just came out of nowhere. And then, you know, I think that the Lord was really pleased with that, and so
absolutely,
excited to whatever, you know, where we're going, where the end's going to look like. Usually is different from what I think it's going to look like, or Pastor Bob, or you, or Jonas, or whoever, you know. So you just never know. Kenya, you didn't expect to be there, but now you're there and you're doing some great things, and
right.
You just never know where you're going to wind up in 10 years. So
Yeah, absolutely. So Jim, you spent the last few days practicing with TRYTAN. Now you've had the opportunity to kind of pinch hit for a few bands over the years, but TRYTAN, they're as almost as old as Barren Cross.
Yeah, they are. I don't know who's older, me or Larry, but yeah, it's been a real treat. So I can remember back in the early '80s hearing the song Genesis,
yes,
and you know, God hovered over the waters. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And I remember hearing that. I think I was actually on the road and with Barren Cross, and I thought, man, that is some anointed music. And I remember it just gave me the chill bumps, you know, as I was listening. So all these years later, Larry gave me a call actually to record on his latest record, and I went and played 3 songs for him and tracked bass on those songs. Revelation song being one of them, which is kind of cool.
yes,
And then he asked me, you know, 3 or 4 months ago if I could, you know, play bass with them at Immortal Fest in September. You know, and at first I thought, you know, man, my calendar, I'm so busy, and I don't know if I can take on another project or whatever, but I just really felt like the Lord really, really wanted me to do it. And what a treat it was this past weekend. Just got to play with Larry and with Paul, and just 2 fantastic musicians,
yes,
writing music that's challenging, and you know,
yeah.
and you know, Triumph, Rush, you know, kind of esque, and
Right.
but that's right up my alley, and I enjoy that style of music, and so that just had a great time.
And TRYTAN always had that unique sound too. You know, I think of all the metal bands that were there, you know, some of them kind of resembled each other, but
Yeah,
TRYTAN always kind of stood out. So I'm doing something very unique.
yeah, they're very unique. When you hear their music, you go, that's TRYTAN, you know, and
Right.
you know, with the bass guitars doing basic guitar doing riffs together, you know, riffs that you normally don't hear, you know, which is kind of like right up my alley, you know. So
Yes.
yeah, really good music, you know. So
Yeah.
so
Awesome.
I'm definitely excited to see, you know, to play and get out there. So.
Larry was reconnecting. Let's see if he is reconnected yet. Not sure if he's on yet or not. There he is. All right. Larry,
Hey,
good to
Larry.
see you today.
Hey guys, good morning, and I'm blessed. I'm humbled, and Jim, I just saw you last night, but I miss you already, bro.
Yeah, I made it home okay. Larry just dropped me off at the airport, and so yeah.
That's awesome.
Seems
So-
like just a few hours ago, and it was.
Yeah, it was, right. So, Larry, let's go back to Triton, the very beginning. What year did Triton begin?
So I would say, like the roots of Triton started like 82, 80, 83, maybe even a little before then. But then we got serious. We got our team squared away probably 85, 86, and then actually recorded the first session for Celestial Messenger. I think maybe even late 85, early 86, and then we got connected with REX Music New York early 87, and then finished the album and then got it out, I think right before Cornerstone, 1987.
Awesome. That's great. That was a good year at Cornerstone, by the way. You remember 1987, Jimbo?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That was a great
And
year.
yeah, it sure was. Hey, Larry, did you guys play the festival, or I don't remember if you guys did or not.
Not until 2001 at the Encore One stage, with Guard, Sacred Warrior, and
Yeah.
Daniel.
Uh-oh,
Oh,
we lost him.
it was the
Yeah,
rapture. The rapture.
yeah. Well, you know something, Bob. There was a definite back in 1987, and I'll just throw this in while Larry's reconnecting. Is there was definitely a powerful movement um, going on with Christian metal, and it
Yeah.
really started getting traction back then. Some of the bands that came out were obviously Blood Good and Deliverance, Vengeance, Triton, Sacred Warrior, and gosh, I guess I'm leaving a few out, and say it's obviously Striper, but it was just such a awesome time to be in that movement. We were, at the foothills of it, and just the beginning to see what God was actually doing and continues to do and expanding, its own borders. But yeah, and so Sanctuary would go and we'd set up a tent and we'd have worship and you'd come out and preach, and man, it was a fantastic time to be doing what we're doing.
They really were.
Yeah.
And the times that we've had at Immortal Fest recently have kind of been like that. Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's very, it reminds me of those days, and where everybody comes and everybody knows each other, and it's kind of like a family reunion.
Right.
And I am actually more looking forward to seeing everybody than I am to playing.
Yeah.
I love playing, but I love seeing everybody, and hanging out with everyone. So
It's a great crowd, isn't it? And
oh,
Jim,
it's fantastic.
and it reminds me what we've been doing the last 40 years.
Oh
you know, is spending time with all of these great people. And it's not unusual, as you know, for somebody to come up and say, it's a pleasure to see you again. I met you 30 years ago.
Yep. Yeah, no doubt about it. And
Yeah.
I want to say that probably the most inspiring thing is when, somebody became a Christian at Sanctuary, or somebody became a Christian at the,
Aaron Cross concert.
Aaron Cross show, or whoever.
Yeah.
And now they're pastoring a church.
Yeah.
And I think that's because it's just the ministry going on to the next generation, and so on and so on.
I love that. That's the best thing, isn't it?
Do we get Larry back, or is he still?
I'm not sure. He's having some technical difficulties. At least we got to see his face for a few minutes, anyway.
Yeah, well, that's good. Well, let me just say this about Triton.
Yes.
I spent 2 days in intensive rehearsals, and these two fingers right here, I won't be able to use them for a week. Yeah, these are my bass playing fingers. Woo!
Yeah.
And we rehearsed, and the spirit of their music is so good because Larry's spirit is good. He's been a minister for years and years. He's had his shares, just like we have, of ups and downs in the ministry.
Yes.
And but he's still fighting the good fight, and I'm impressed with that about him. And I think that that he's just getting started, just like you and I are, Bob.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
We were just saying that you've been in great ministry all of these years, and tell us a little bit about your present ministry. What does it look like?
Well, it's manifold, multidimensional. Um, it involves Extreme Church, which is kind of a rocking new generation church right here in the Joliet area, southwest of Chicago. And we are involved with Team Faith, which is a national/international ministry that does chaplaincy and ministry to extreme sport events, X Games, B Tour, Supercross, Arena Cross, the GNCC Tour, Pro Watercross. We do freestyle jump shows all over the world. We do one every year outside of Cairo in Egypt, and thousands of people are coming to the Lord over there. And then we have the World Light Music Group with TRYTAN and EMANATE, which hearing you guys talk about what God is doing through worship, that just really excites my heart, and it really is what we've been heading towards for like the past 10 years and more. But and besides my family is awesome, and but the ministry wise, it's been Extreme Church, Team Faith, Real Light Music stuff with TRYTAN and EMANATE, and doing Moto Church at the motocross parks. And we're going to have a huge baptism service with a bunch of street riders and off-road riders, and do a rider blessing next month in July, inspired by Pastor Randy Shope and the Warehouse Church and their annual Motorcycle Sunday event. So we're going to do that over here in Joliet, and that's pretty much it, Pastor Bob. I did want to say how thankful I am for how healthy you are, and getting through, your health challenges a while ago. We were praying for you, and it's such a blessing to see you, you're healthy and grinding and just doing your thing, and what a blessing that is. Also, the impact that you had on all of us, Pastor Bob, I just wanted to thank you so much. And getting to know Jim more and more over the past years, and to see the effect that you've had on his life, to see the power of your partnership, and kind of filling in some of the blanks of all of your travels and your moves to Nashville, and how integral Sanctuary and you were in Jim's life, and vice versa. I'm just blessed and humbled by that. And I did want to say that one of your great maxims, Pastor Bob, I just about every time I speak, I share that the right place to figure anything out is at the cross. And I love that. I just thank you for your ministry. And also, John Cassandra is a force. I love him so much. And I mean, like, who in Christian music is the dude not partnering with and helping out in some way, shape, or form? And I thank the Lord for all of you. And I digress. But I had to get that in there.
So much. We're having a lot of problems with your audio, but I think we made most of that out. So, and I appreciate your heart and appreciate everything that you've done. Folks, we are excited for Immortal Fest. And now that the cat is out of the bag, Jim is playing with TRYTAN, and there is the schedule. Look at all the bands on this list. I mean, it's amazing how many people are playing the festival. So many great bands, you almost don't know where to start. Don't forget at the first festival, part one, we have Sanctuary Day, July 28th. We'll be doing the morning service. Lots of great surprises, lots of great music. I'm going to be speaking, and then part two, August 30th through September 1st, and 3 great days of a lot of great bands. Apologetics is going to be there. I haven't heard them for so many years, and the Daniel Band and some of the older bands, and then that's when TRYTAN will be playing as well. Lots of good stuff to come. So, folks, if you haven't gotten your tickets yet, please do, and we're looking forward to seeing you there. We will be there in force with Sanctuary, and Larry, we're looking forward to hearing Triton play again after all these years. It'll be
Me
great
too, man.
to have this
Me too.
time together. Yeah. Well, you guys, thank you for joining me today. I appreciate it. So good to have you on. Larry, let's talk again after the festival, and we'll talk a little more in depth, and I'd love to pick your brain a little more to see what you've got coming up. And next time we won't have technical difficulties. We can talk a little longer. But it's great to see you today. And Jimbo, you're I'm sure I'll see you at some point, probably in the next few minutes.
Yeah, yeah. Just walk over
At
to
the
your
coffee
house.
pot.
Right.
Yeah,
We're about 30 yards from each other right now, so
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
we'll connect. Folks, thank you for joining us today. I appreciate it. Appreciate all of my guests being here, Larry and Jim and Jonas. And great shows coming up. Can't wait for you to see some of the things that we have planned for our shows coming up in the next few weeks. But don't forget, I say it every time, and it's always true. You are blessed. So go and be a blessing.